So hi, it's the 25th of October, UK time. It's the morning. What time is it with you, Medyhne?
It's 7:05 p.m, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. So I am really happy to be talking to you, Medyhne. We've obviously spoken before and I've had a private session with you. But Medyhne, your channel is Arise Humanity. Can you just start by introducing yourself to my audience about who you are and what you're doing with Arise Humanity?
Sure. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. I'm, deeply honored, to be on your show. I know you've got a wonderful audience that really are dedicated to, what you're doing. And, it's a joy to be here. So thank you. Well, in terms of myself, I'm from Australia and I live currently in Tweed Heads, which is New South Wales. It's, I used to live in Victoria, which is the state that we're having, particularly dystopian regulations and restrictions at the minute, and I moved north actually because I felt that it would be better, and it much more resonates with who I am, so that's lovely. But I'm an energy healer worker. I've done that for probably about 28 years, working with energy. I was trained as like a Reiki master, and I'm a qualified minister of healing, and I'm very interested, like yourself, in all things holistic, holistic natural therapies. I used to have a wellness space in regional Victoria, and I'd run a whole lot of classes on, things like how to love self, essential oils, and a whole range of, classes where people could really grow and evolve as a soul, as well as learn, a knowledge about different holistic things. And so, yeah, I've come from that base. I guess prior to that, I was a mum, and then I did a few different things. I'm quite creative, and I sing. So I've recorded a lot of original music, and I did a concert tour around regional Victoria called Songs of Angels, and they were channeled sort of songs from the angelic realm, and so that was really fun to do. And then I paint and do a lot of creative things, because I find that inspires me, and it's just something that I love. In terms of the music too, we've had some success. We had an international publishing deal, and we had a song in a B grade movie in America, so that was a bit of fun. And yeah, so all that sort of thing. And at the moment, I'm obviously, with everything that's happening on the planet, I'm extremely passionate about freedom, about liberation for humanity, about us overriding corrupt, controlling forces that are no longer in alignment with the energy of the planet and with the energy of humanity. And so I've been extremely proactive, I guess you could say, with everything that I'm doing in relation to that. And it's multifaceted. I've been doing a lot of different things, wherever I have felt that I can be of assistance. Currently, for example, I'm running a soul healing group for Australia on Zoom on Tuesday nights, and that's getting more and more people all the time that are really concerned about what's happening in Australia and really want to make a difference. So when you do energy work, you can shift things really quickly, and so we've been doing some really wonderful work with all the different aspects of what's going on in Australia, and the different groups that we're finding a sort of behaving completely out of integrity now, the abusive sort of forces that are happening with the police, and with the very one-sided narrative that fits the globalist agenda of the media, and all those sorts of things. We've been working with with all those energies here. So it's been great. We've found that we've been able to do some good work. And also, I do individual sessions with people too. So I read their energy fields, and I go in and pick up whatever needs shifting, clearing, like, for example, past lives. And there's also at the end of the session, I give them gift from their Akashic record keeper, which helps them on a soul level. And then, yeah, just read whatever they need in terms of where their energy is and what they're working with. And I can go in without them saying anything and just sort of read the energy and just pick up what's coming up. So yeah, that's how I work.
Oh, no wonder we've got so much in common. I mean, I think, you know, both of us, as you say, have just been passionate for a long, long while in terms of the holistic mind, body, spirit, and using loads of different tools. I love essential oils. I've got them everywhere. And I work mainly with animals and their humans. And the reason I say that is because obviously normally the humans are a huge dominance in the animals' lives and making decisions. And it's been very interesting. I've loved seeing the evolution of all the people coming out and speaking over the last year or a bit longer, because I've been passionate about animal freedoms for so long. And I think what's really hit home over the last year is a lot of the restrictions that that we're facing as a human species. We've seen they've normalized for years in the animal world, and how we treat our pets, even beloved pets. We've been taught to think certain things are useful, that being a good pet owner, that's not in our right, in the pet's best interest, let alone how we treat farm animals. So I'm really drawn to, you know, people like you and people that are actually doing something very positive, who understand what's going on, but are then putting their focus on solutions, which I think is so, so important at the moment, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's one thing to be aware of everything that's going on, but then if you're not working actively towards changing it to something better, it just remains stagnant. And you know, when you talk about animals, I've been part of a collective called the Oceania Restoration Council, and it was funny because it really resonates with what happened with this particular person, where they went into a farm situation and they noticed that all the water from the cows was very contaminated, all the water troughs. They just had a lot of bacteria, dead animals, things like that. And they were, you know, extremely toxic and poisonous, which of course then affects the milk and affects the cow itself, and then affects the calf, you know, when the calf's born. So he created, this particular person created a gadget which is relatively cheap, that can be put in each water trough and just completely filters the water. And then so this would, you know, revolutionize the farming industry in terms of the health and purification of you know, cows and their milk and everything. And then it was interesting because he had a test where he put it across the other side of the field and wanted to see the reaction of the cows. So the cows, instead of going to the contaminated water troughs, they'd walk right across the other side of the field and they'd go to the purified water that was, you know, created from one of his gadgets. So, you know, all those sorts of things are the solutions that we need to make this a better place for not only ourselves but the animal kingdom.
It's such a wonderful example, Medyhne, because isn't it funny that, you know, basic clean drinking water is such a basic right for an animal, and yet us humans, so for me it's my pet hate, and I annoy a lot of the people around here because, not intentionally, but the thing is, we keep, say for example, most people around where I am, a lot of people have got horses in the middle of the countryside, and it's a very horsey place to live. And or if they haven't got horses, they've got cows or sheep, for example. And these animals are kept in a field that humans have fenced in, so they've restricted them, so they've got no access to running water or to go off and find their own resources, which they'd be really happy about, because that's a basic need for an animal as well, but obviously not practical, so we can't have them wandering around the roads and they'll get run over and things. But most people don't even think to clean out their animals' water tanks. And it's like, you imagine if I gave you a dirty, revolting cup of water with all this stuff out there, that affects, we are 70% water, they are 70% water. It affects your whole life force, but the stress that puts, because in the wild, an animal, unless they were literally you know, dying of thirst, would never drink from contaminated water because they've got all their senses intact to do it. So these things, when we as humans, even I ran a series called The Vibrant Animal Team with my lovely vet friend, Dr. Timo, and we did one on water, and it's just amazing how many people don't wash their animals' water bowls out properly. They tip it away and refill it, and there's the film of bacteria. So I know we're going off target a bit, but these levels of details in terms of what's important, and putting an animal or a person under a huge level of stress that's then going to affect their capacity to think clearly. It's going to affect their immune system. It's going to put them on edge and make them behave irrationally and everything. It's so, so important. And us humans are really getting a taste of our own medicine, aren't we, over the last year?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's right. Karma, I guess, in some ways, and just a lack of awareness.
Yes. And
even simple things like, you know, in Victoria, I would notice on hot days, because it would get really hot sometimes there, and there would be sheep in a field and there would be no trees.
Yeah.
And so there'd be absolutely nowhere for them to stand away from all the heat, and there'd be no shelter. So, you know, things like that we would never put ourselves under that strain, and yet animals, many people don't think that way with animals. They just have them, and they think they're a possession that they can not consider their needs properly. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to talk to you about with the work that you're doing, because you're working on a very deep soul level with the healing that you do on a planetary level with humanity and with individuals, is I like to sort of know, in terms of the things, these subconscious ways that we live our lives, we obviously do it through lack of knowledge, not through, most of us, I'm not talking about certain people that we've been talking about a lot over the last year, but most normal humans mean really well to all living beings. So a lot of it is done through ignorance. But we talk a lot about the brainwashing that we've all been through and the mind control that's happened to get us to the state that we are now as a humanity. But it's these little decisions we make on a daily basis, the thoughtfulness, that affect the whole energy of the planet, in my opinion. I mean, what do you think about that?
Definitely. I think for me, kindness is the thing. You know, is it a kind thing to do? And coming from the heart space, I think what has been really pushed in the Western society is for people to be very much in their heads. Yeah. And the head is the lower vibrational energy. It's very much based on protection, safety, security. And so you're dropping your frequency and you're going into more of a fear mode, because it is much more fear-based. So when we consciously take our energy and put it in our heart center, and then we function mindfully from that heart space, that unconditionally loving heart space, it creates a huge shift. And it makes us more centered and peaceful, but we also make better decisions. And I think also the other point too is to be mindfully present in the moment. So, you know, what I like to ask people to do is envisage a timeline in front of your solar plexus, and right in the center of the timeline is the now moment. To the right is the future, to the left is the past. So just tune into your own personal timeline and be cognizant of where you are in the future.
Oh, I'm losing a bit. Sorry, I'm losing your internet connection a bit. Can you hear me? I think we've lost Medyhne for a minute.
Is your fullest level of manifestation.
Sorry, we lost most of that. You froze actually.
Oh, is that okay?
So what we heard, Medyhne, is we heard about your solar plexus and about the timelines. It seems that the internet dropped out on your end, I think. So would you mind just repeating that again? Because I think it's a really important point. Oh, I think we've lost Medyhne.
Yes.
Again. Can you hear me okay? I think your internet's dropping in and out.
Sure.
Oh, we keep losing you.
I'm a long way away.
Keep losing you. Right, are we all right now? It's from
oh dear. Well, yes. I'm good.
Good, good. Right, let's just go, because I think that was a really lovely point that you were just working about time being in the present now. Could you just repeat that bit? It was lovely.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think it's really important to be present in the now moment, and a lot of people unconsciously are not. And so what happens when you're in the now moment is you're in your highest level of joy. You're also in your highest level of manifestation ability. And so it's something that really assists you in being on the earth plane, being in the present moment. That's why it's called the present, because it's a gift. And so in front of the solar plexus, if people can envisage like a timeline, and if you envisage right in front of your center is the now moment, and then to the right is the future, and to the left is the past. So what you ideally want to do is to be mindfully conscious of bringing your energy right back into that central point in the middle, and bringing your energy into that now moment. And you can say things like, I'm 100% present right here, right now. I'm 100% present right here, right now. And then there are other techniques like grounding your energy, which also assist with that. But that's another way to be really mindful, because what can happen otherwise is we can become run by our subconscious, and we can become reactive. So we respond automatically without being mindful. So these are all techniques, because when you're more mindful in your existence, then you have a higher level of frequency, and you have a higher level of functioning on the earth plane in a way that is in alignment with the highest good for both yourself and humanity.
That's just so lovely. It's a really good technique, because I think at the moment, I mean, one of the things, you know, I really wanted to talk about, which we've already started, is how people cope with the information that they're getting, and we're all getting that at different spaces. And I think I've seen, it's been upsetting to me to see so much judgment in that, because, you know, say for example, I look back when I was a child and growing up, I was lucky enough to have my first horse that I got when I was 14. I had her for 25 years, which was amazing. And the decisions I made at 14 are very different to the decisions I make for my horses now, because I know more and therefore I do better. But I was obsessed with my horse. I mean, she was my life, you know, so I did everything within my power as a 14-year-old to make the right decisions. And in hindsight, some of those were very wrong, but they were right for where I was at then. And the difference is when I learned something, I made the change straight away.
Yes,
what
exactly.
I find is animals are very forgiving. So even now on a daily basis, because I've got a lot of rescue animals. I say they rescue me, not that I'm rescuing them, because that's very, very true. But every single one I've got, or that I'm working with as clients, teaches me so much, but I never see any resentment in animals. So you never get, when you're communicating working with an animal never says, it's your fault I'm ill because you fed me rubbish food. They're just highly grateful that you're moving to a place to make a change.
Oh, I hear you. It's something about animals that really shifts us into a state of higher grace, a state of higher human heart as well, you know, coming from unconditional love, and something really special about that. And I think if people could learn humility with animals, and learn to recognize that they're actually teaching us a lot of the time, and that they're chosen to be here to support humanity actually in their extreme graciousness and nobility. They're choosing to be here to support our journey in different ways, and we can be nothing but thankful to them and grateful, and you know, for everything that they're doing for us.
Oh, it's such an important way. And I think when we learn that humility and the grace, it's going to be so important to us moving forward, because I think probably there's not a single person watching this program that hasn't got frictions in either immediate family, in their work, in their long-standing friendship group. And what we've seen is, in some respect, there's been a lot of coming together. I mean, for myself, I've made the most amazing new friends and contacts over the last years, where people that I've met and we've clicked so instantaneously, they feel like lifelong friends, and I'm sure they will be. But equally, a lot of past relationships have fractured quite badly. And I think moving forward, having some of these tools that you talk about to actually heal humanity, the way we interact with all living things, whether it's plant, whether it's animals, moving forward is going to be the key to success.
Well, actually, I just came across this the other day, this whole concept of how should we react in the face of adversity. And what I boiled it down to within myself, with all the things that I've learned, was that if there's someone behaving in a way that is out of alignment, and it doesn't matter what it is in a sense, how we respond to it is really a good baseline for that is, how would we like to respond to ourselves if that was us? So when you think about it, you are actually creating in your life, co-creating a mirror to yourself, and everything that we're learning, there is no separation. We're all one, we're one unified field. And so everything that we do to someone else is what we're asking to be done to us. So if someone behaves badly, how would we like someone to respond to us in that situation? And I think that's a really good baseline for everything. And if everyone did that, it would be a very different world. And sure, there's a real obvious shift in consciousness that's happening on the planet, where people that are believing one narrative are going one way, and the other people that are believing another narrative that's completely different are going another way in their consciousness, and the divide's getting more obvious. Before that, we weren't aware of this difference in consciousness, but now we are, and that's a gift too, because it allows us, like you say, to align with energies that are far more in coherence with our own field. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a wonderful thing. And I've had the same thing as you in the last year and a half, just really magnetized the most beautiful tribe into my space that are so in alignment, that such a beautiful thing. But again, at the same time, there's this shift in consciousness. It's very sometimes hard to bridge. It's like really hard to even communicate. It's like you're speaking English and they're speaking Russian, and you can't find a bridge to sort of mediate between. But if you come from a space of how would I like to be treated in this situation, you can't go too far wrong, I think.
Oh, it's such an important point. It really is. And I think accepting to us all that we're all just learning, and we're all developing these skills, and being kind and gentle to people, and being able to say sorry when we get it wrong is so important, because we are all developing. And if you look at the way when children learn to communicate, I mean, young toddlers are hysterical, aren't they, when they speak? So honest. And I see a lot of parallels between the way animals communicate to us humans and the way young children do, because there's that no filter. But a young child, for example, might say to someone, you know, mummy, why is that person fat? But there's no malice in it. There's a difference. There's a genuine question. So often it's not the words we say, it's the intent behind them. But also allowing those questions to be asked without taking offense. Because I was listening to Wayne Dyer at the weekend. I love Wayne Dyer.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
You know, I keep coming back to his stuff. You know, you go through stages of listening to stuff and come back. But one of the things that really made me laugh, and I recognized it in myself as well, was he was talking about, you know, people will deliberately look or subconsciously look for reasons to be offended. And I think, particularly in this politically correct age, where you can't have a joke about everything, I think this taking offense as soon as someone says anything that you perceive for you is wrong is stopping us moving forward.
Yes. And I think that's the mark of a civilized, mature society, is honoring one another's differences. So you can't be offended by someone if you're honoring their difference. And that's really important. It reminds me, you know, when you talked about young children, I came across this little child the other day, and I was, you know, talking to her and everything, and she said to me, "Why do you smile so much?" It was really funny. And I said, "Oh, I think it's just my personality." It was really funny. But I love that no filter and the innocence and the purity and you know, I think learning to step out of ego, the lower mind, the lower self is important as we move forward, and stepping into sort of like a higher vibration where, yeah, we're coming from a different place.
Oh, it's just lovely. And what an amazing thing for a child to say to you, and why you smile so much. I mean, it's just so lovely. And to see the world through a child's eyes, where everything's curious, you're noticing everything, but you're not judging, because children just don't judge until they come into contact with adults and things, and then they start judging. But you never see a young child judging. They take everything at face value, and it's just so beautiful to see, isn't it? So
those new generations that are coming in too, they're incredible. You know, some of their wisdom and their knowledge and their awareness. And I was looking after a while ago a little girl. She was really, really young, 3 to 4 she was. And she said she was in the park and she was looking around at the field, and she said to me, "I wonder who made all this. It must have been a hard job." And she was talking about God or the divine. And I thought, oh my goodness, what an incredible little thing.
Yeah, it's just absolutely lovely. Now, one of the things that I get asked so much, and I think is really challenging for people at the moment, is the balance between, say, people who are watching the show have done a lot of research on their own. They're seeing the world through a new eyes that perhaps they didn't see a few years ago. They're noticing things that we didn't know that was going on. And then they're surrounded by other people that aren't open to seeing that yet. There's a fine line, isn't there, about how do you try and warn loved ones about the consequences of certain decisions, and also stay in the present moment. And sort of, I've said this before, I think with Jean-Claude, you know, someone I worked with a few years ago, and I didn't get it at the time, it was probably quite a few years ago, I really didn't get it. And he used to be very keen about saying to people, mind your own business, not in a rude way. So we say it in the UK, if you say to someone, mind your own business, it's a dismissive, rude put down. But actually the original intent was, when you look after your own self, mind, body, spirit, everything around you sorts itself out. So it was never meant to be used like that. And I think a lot of people, a lot of our listeners, it's very confusing for them, because when you see certain things, I equate it to the fact that, you know, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know a lot about cars. I've got certain members of the family where their husbands are mechanics. So if they came round and saw there was something dangerous with my car, I hope they'd stop me before letting me drive off in it, because I wouldn't notice and they would. And it's a bit what we're seeing here, but there's that fine line, isn't there, about imposing your views, but also trying to protect. How do you work with that, with your clients, with yourself?
Well, I find clients easy because they're so keen to soak up information and expand themselves, that they're open and they're not coming from a place of, you know, judgment or anything like that. But I think that the thing is with members of our family or friends that perhaps we're wanting to share information with, I think you can share a certain level, but then it's like something about 10% is good of what you're aware of, and then just be quiet and allow them to integrate that. I think if people ask you information, that's a different thing. You know, if they're asking for your thoughts and your knowledge on things, that's different. You can go for it. Then you can just lay it out. But if they're wary, or they're a bit closed or something like that, you can just, you know, let out little gems of small amounts of information at a time and allow them to integrate. And it is, you know, actually quite hard to do, because when you are aware of everything going on and you have the knowledge, you want to share it with people, and you also don't want to be suppressed and repressed, because that's exactly what we're trying to step out of at the minute, is the whole enslavement paradigm and the control structures that we've been living under for thousands of years. And so we don't want to feel that suppression anymore. We want to be able to speak freely. So there is also that inner drive to just be able to be free, so you've got those things working against each other. But I think discernment, just tuning into the person's energy and being sensitive to where they're at and empathic, and we want to give information as much as we can, because it will prepare them for, when everything is disclosed, and it won't be such a shock then. But then there's also the thing where we don't want to put them into fear.
Yes, so important, isn't it? Because I was having conversation with a lot of people in the UK, and we don't watch. The people I was talking to, we had a lovely Zoom last night with this group of very awakened people in the UK that my friend Andrea helps to run. And it's a really interesting one, because none of us are watching the news. We're not aware of what they're being told. And so what we've noticed over the last couple of weeks in the UK is the fear levels have shot up again. So the propaganda machine has been very much that cases are on the rise, and that's caused by the people that haven't had this. And these poor people genuinely believe it. So I had members of this group last night was sharing their stories that this week in the UK, family members will not see them anymore if they haven't had this. And it's so hurtful, because these people are like the healthiest members of their families. They're very well informed, they're very responsible, so they wouldn't, but equally, it's a real paradox, Medyhne, because at the same time, we've got the Prime Minister going on TV admitting that this doesn't stop transmission, doesn't stop you getting it. So it's this weird mixed messages that these people are getting, where they genuinely, this is what the thing is, they genuinely believe that people who've made a different decision to them are a danger to them.
Yes, absolutely. So they're feeding off the fear of these people. So if people are holding that fear within them, it's going to be triggered. So that's why it's so important to do inner work, to transmute our own fears and to raise our consciousness, because then we can't be fed off in that way. We can't be utilized for our energy in that way. And I think ultimately it's just a free will decision that people make in terms of their consciousness of where they're going to be. But I mean, I know that can be hard to acknowledge when you know that there are subliminal programming and all these sorts of nefarious things going on at the same time. But ultimately, it is a choice in consciousness. And, we want to support and help as many people as possible to be awakened to what we see as the truth. But, there is a level of non-attachment that's required as well, because otherwise we'd just be an emotional wreck. We'd be just attaching to, wanting to have everyone to have the awareness that we feel that we have, and yet we can't do that. And so there's that, Buddhist principle of non-attachment, because attachment causes suffering. So it's being centered within your own space, doing your own internal work, so that in the eye of the storm, you're centered and in non-attachment to outcomes, while trying as best as we can to do everything we can to shift into a ascended reality, a 5-dimensional realm. And it's a bit of a tightrope balancing act sometimes.
And I love, again, something I've spoken about with Janine and Jean-Claude quite a lot is I find it really fascinating, because of course none of us, we don't know, you and I don't know what we don't know. So we've got our paradigm of what we think is going on.
Yes.
That's right. We feel it's right, and we feel it's this. But this is what I love, is the fact, and I think coming back to what you were saying about staying in the present moment, this is where it's so important, isn't it? Because if you can do that non-attachment that you're talking about and stay in the present moment, then you'll just open, but seeing things with an open way, but also very much taking responsibility for yourself. Another Wayne diet, if you squeeze an orange, only orange can come out. I can't put fear into someone else. If they're feeling fear, it's inside them, and something, I might be the trigger that makes them realize that, but it's not me putting it into them or anyone else or the government or something. And I think you're so right. This is why working on ourselves is really the most important thing all of us can do, because that's all there is, isn't it? That's all we can truly influence.
That's true. That's true. It all comes from ourselves primarily first. And it reminds me of, you know, when you have the colors of your chakras, you know, the different colors. And when you are missing colors in your energetic field, then you're out of balance. And when you've got all the colors in perfect balance, it creates a white aura, because all the colors together make that white. So it's like what we're doing is rebalancing all our energy centers and our energy field, so that we are, you know, that white. And so that's another way of sort of trying to describe it.
That's really lovely. I love the visuals. It really works really well for me. So in terms of where we're at now, in terms of us talking here, the people sort of that might be listening to this, what are you feeling some of your tips moving forward that people can really be doing with themselves right now to sort of help influence the most positive outcome for all of us?
Sure. Well, I know everyone says this and we hear it a lot, but you can't overemphasize the importance of being in nature, because nature is remaining pretty much the same in the midst of everything that's happening. You know, you look at the ocean or you know, a beautiful landscape, and it's still the same as it was previously, and so it hasn't changed. So there's something about that that's very comforting, and connecting, of course, to Mother Earth, Goddess Gaia, is really a beautiful and a really important thing to do at the moment, because it's also helping actually to transmute. We can put our feet on the ground and our hands on the ground, and we can just ask Mother Earth, please help work with me to transmute anything that no longer serves me, and Mother Earth can help us with that. So, you know, the resource that Mother Earth is completely underestimated in terms of, you know, Westerners. A lot of people, they spend a lot of time in their homes or their workplace, and they don't go outside a lot. And so this is going to be a key thing moving forward, I think, for people in the future. And so I think also being really mindful of self-care in every way that we can. You know, if you're feeling guided to go for a walk, you know, walking exercise raises your serotonin levels and makes you happier. You know, things like that are just really, really important as well at the minute. If you're too stationary or stagnant, then, you know, this fear, what it does, it's like an electricity in your body or adrenaline, and it builds up, and then you're feeling like, you know, this, and, you know, so when you're walking, you're releasing that and moving it and getting your body flowing again. And, you know, those sorts of things are really important at the moment. You know, balancing our own care in terms of our food that we're eating. A lot of people are noticing that while all this high frequency energy is amping up and coming down, you know, there's more light coming down on the planet at the moment as the Earth's ascending. And we actually, some friends and myself and some other people, noticed a shift just recently, and it felt like we were going into 5D, because the energies felt very different and it was lighter. And so as that happens, our diet changes, and we find that we can eat much less food. We don't need to eat as heavy things. We're drinking more perhaps liquids, you know, and healthier foods as well. So just being mindful of what your body's telling you that it needs, and tuning into that, you know, that's another thing. Drinking heaps of water, because as we're ascending, we're integrating a lot of shifting on a cellular level, and so we need to drink a lot of filtered water to help with that. And, you know, obviously, you know, meditation, things like that, where we still our mind and come to a centered place of peace. I have behind me is my pyramid that I meditate.
I was going to ask you about that. So tell us about your pyramid.
Sure. Well, when I was had the wellness space in regional Victoria, I was really strongly guided to have a pyramid to meditate in. So I commissioned this lady to make me one, and then other people started asking, and then so I got quite a few made for other people as well. And it's actually PVC pipe, but it's got sand in it, which is a great conductor, and the top of it is it's got crystals in it, and it's really amplifies the energy when you sit in it and you meditate. It's beautiful. And you know, the first time, this is incredible, Catherine, the first time I sat in it, I literally swayed like this without meaning to. You know, it was just an automatic thing. My body wasn't intending to do it, but I swayed like this for like 15 minutes, and it was rebalancing all my energy.
It's amazing, isn't it? And what I love about things like this, because a lot of people, everyone watching, everyone will be in different financial positions at the moment, but you can make your own, because the intent behind this, so you can buy one, because I know at the start of all this, there were a lot of people doing videos about pyramids, and I love them. And one of my clients, oh, it's just beautiful. She's made hers into, she's got this beautiful pyramid, and then she's got her cat bed at the top of it. I mean, how perfect is that? But equally, you can also make your own, because the intent behind it will have the same effect, won't it?
Oh, 100%, 100%, yes. And you know what for you is meaningful, because for me, I have an awareness of my Egyptian past lives, and I did spiritual work there, and I actually went to Egypt. So that really resonated with me, a pyramid. It works with my energy and my energy field. So whatever you're drawn to, and whatever you get joy from, and whatever lifts you up or attracts your attention, there are sometimes, signals that is this type of thing that's going to work with you and work with your energy. So just being mindful of that as well, and asking for high guidance, and you'll get synchronicities happen in your life of things that will pop in that will be beneficial, and that beautiful feeling of wonder and awe as the flow of life unfolds, and all these beautiful things come into our field.
Yeah, that's so lovely, because we've got to remember, isn't it, that life is a journey. We don't want to have got there now, otherwise what we're going to do for the next 40-50 years, sort of thing.
That's right. Boring.
It'd be so boring. And I just am finding all this new knowledge and this new exploration and meeting new people and different ways to communicate, and learning about all these ways we can help ourselves. It's just so wonderful and so exciting, but also I just have to laugh at myself now, because I can see, I've got grown-up children now, and I was completely fooled that school was the best place to send them, and things like this. And now, of course, I look back in hindsight and I think, oh, although my children, when I said you're lucky, because if I had you now, I'd be home educating, they look horrified, because they knew that home educating would be looking after the animals and doing the garden and things. And their spelling would not be very good if I was educating them, I can tell you. But it's funny, isn't it? I think maintaining a sense of humor is really, really important at this time.
Oh, definitely. And I like that saying, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So being open to shifting your perspective and not holding on to old things just for the sake of it to be right or whatever.
It's so important.
There's quite a few instances this year when I've felt like there's something that resonated, and then after a period of time, a couple of months later, I think, nah, that doesn't resonate at all anymore, because something's shifted in the field. And I'm not, it's not about blaming yourself for that or criticizing yourself, but it's just saying, well, I've grown and I've evolved, and my point of view has shifted.
Yeah, it's lovely. And we're noticing a whole new sort of language opening up, mainly in code words for those of us doing videos on YouTube.
What's happening?
Language is coming up a lot. So now we can't finish off this interview, which has just been so lovely, without tell us about what you offer people for you've mentioned your Zoom sessions. So how can people join those, and how can they find out about the private sessions you do?
Sure. Well, I can leave the details with you to contact me via my website on the contact page to have a session. But I guess a bit more information about the sessions is whatever you're wanting to work with. There are different ways working with energy that you can do that, and the techniques that I work with, there's like over 100. There's just so many, depending on what the person's working with. But, everyone at the moment is going through pretty seemingly intense shifts forward. And so this is an opportunity as well, because we're able to really accelerate our soul evolution. And that's what we're here for. I mean, the fundamental reason we're here is to evolve as a soul. And that's both individually. And then, of course, as we do that, we collectively allow humanity to shift forward as well. So to me, there's nothing more important than working on your soul growth. And my goodness, if anything's going to encourage us to do it, it's the world at the moment. With all we see all the things that were always there actually, but we're hidden under the surface, coming up to be seen now. And so you need a strong inner core, you need techniques or tools or resources to be able to navigate, all this sort of thing. And so that's what I think my sessions provide. And for example, just an idea off the top of my head, sometimes people present and they say that the right side of my body has issues. Now, the right side of your body is your male aspect. So then we do techniques to rebalance the inner divine masculine, and then that shifts what energetically you're holding on that side of the body. So there's so many interesting ways that you can work with your own energy, and it's quick and it's easy and it's gentle. They're nurturing techniques where you're fully supported in a beautiful field of angelic energies and things like that, which is lovely as well.
Yeah, and I had a session with you, which I really enjoyed, and it was really lovely. And that's what I would encourage people to say and you can do a lot of this work yourself. There's loads of resources as well online that you can use if you need guidance as well. I mean, I love Joe Dispenza. I really love his work. But when you're working at this quantum level rather than a physical level, you can shift things so quickly, because we're taught that, the body needs a certain amount of time to repair. But when you're working at the quantum or the energy level, those time scales are completely irrelevant, aren't they? So I love my session with you. So if people are drawn to that, now I think you've got a coupon code that we'll put below the things. We were going to give a coupon code to any of the listeners of this show to.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm happy to offer 10% of a discount with the I Love Animals.
Lovely. It's a lovely one, because we both really love animals. Oh, that's really kind of you. So I will put the links below to obviously all Medyhne's websites, where you can book, how you can contact her. Your Zoom, you mentioned about your Australian Zoom sessions. Is there details of those on your website as well?
I'll give them to you to paste underneath. We do that actually tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and we're working with, particularly at the moment, with shifting. Well, we're doing inner soul healing as well, but we're also working on shifting the energies in Australia and New Zealand, because we see that there's a lot of, as everyone around the world I think is noticing, a lot of really old structures that are very insidious, playing out right at the minute, and people feeling very, very repressed. But then if we do the inner work to shift that, we can release energetically that hold that they've been having. And so, the energy work's really powerful at the moment in terms of what we can do. So yeah, that's a great thing. And I want to say thank you so much, Catherine. I absolutely love talking with you, and I love your energy, and I really resonate with your holistic approach to everything. And I'd love to chat with you again.
I'd love to. I was going to say I'd love to again, because I've got so many things I want to chat to you about. But thank you so much for joining us today. I will get this video up, everyone, today, and send you the link, so that if you want to put it on your channel as well, Medyhne, feel free. I'll be putting the link to Medyhne's YouTube channel on there, so please do go and support her on there. Is there anything else you want to sort of finish off with? Any messages for people before we finish?
Sure. I just really encourage people at the moment to, there's all so much information out there, and some of it's disinformation, and some of it is fear-based, and it's intended to keep us in lower frequencies. So just be really mindful of, what you're tapping into in terms of the energy field around you, the information field around you, and make sure that you are tapping inward to check in that your own state of well-being is, relatively stable as much as possible, and if it's not, go in and do some inner work to raise your frequency and feel better. I mean, there's so many things you can do. You put on beautiful music, you can dance, you can talk to a dear friend, or, there's so many things that you can do to shift that, and understand that you're the co-creator of the reality right now, and we've never been more powerful. And so we need to really activate our complete empowerment that is our inherent birthright, what we were born with, in this current transition on the earth, because the more that we all activate that inner empowerment and step out of those old structures, the quicker we can shift through this and get to the beautiful place that is going to happen, and for people to know that that is around the corner and it's coming, but we just have to do the work first, the inner work and the work to get us there.
Well, that's absolutely lovely. And my sort of parting words are, let's see the beauty in everything now.
Yes.
See the beauty in everything now, whether it's, I'm really proud, I should have brought a picture. I've just grown, my lettuces have just grown absolutely beautiful. They're the most perfect lettuces of my vegetables. So every time I walk past them, I'm like, oh, it's perfect lettuce. They look too good to eat, actually. I'm a bit.
Oh, that's because they're getting so much love.
They don't want to hit them. So I thought, actually, if I share them with the guinea pigs, because the guinea pigs are very, very grateful to all the home pro things. So thank you so much. That was so lovely. I can't believe how quickly that has gone. We must definitely do this again.
Oh, that'll be beautiful. And I was going to say, with those lettuces, because you're emanating love and a beautiful, frequency vibration, they're picking that up and they're working with it and they're growing beautifully. So, everything is energy. Everything's energy, and you're an energy field that impacts everything. Yeah,
absolutely. And speak soon. Until next time. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kim.